Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise to bring you the most compelling insights from the texts that shape our understanding. Now, we all talk to people every single day, right?
Constantly.
From casual chats with colleagues to, I don't know, intense discussions at home. But stop and think for a moment. How often do we truly interview someone?
Yeah.
Not just to exchange information, but with the deliberate intent to uncover something profound, something that can genuinely shift our perspective or, inform a critical decision.
That's a really good question. It feels like just talking, but it's different.
It might seem like just a simple conversation, but as we'll explore today, user interviewing is actually a surprisingly profound and intricate skill.
It's an absolute art, yeah, and a powerful one at that. When you get the hang of it, it doesn't just gather data. It actually transforms how we understand the world around us. It empowers us to make incredibly informed decisions, which is especially vital in areas like, say, product development design, even navigating complex organizational challenges.
And today, we're embarking on an in-depth exploration of, a really authoritative guide on this very subject. Steve Portigal's Interviewing Users, Second Edition, How to Uncover Compelling Insights.
Great book.
And this isn't just a textbook for seasoned researchers, right? It's a comprehensive framework for anyone from novices to those who've been doing this for years, looking to master the art of learning from people.
Our mission for you today is basically to provide a thorough overview of Portigal's framework for effective user interviewing. We want to highlight its core principles, emphasize key takeaways that can elevate any approach to understanding people, and offer practical methodologies and, crucially, the mindset required.
And get ready for some serious aha moments, because by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a shortcut to being well-informed about the strategic importance and the practical methodologies of user interviewing.
Yeah, we hope so.
We'll arm you with surprising facts and actionable insights you can apply immediately, fostering a deeper appreciation for the kind of structured curiosity that transforms casual talks into really compelling discoveries. So, let's unpack this right from the start. The first big question Portigal tackles is one many of us might instinctively ask ourselves. Isn't this really just talking to people? I already know how to do that.
Right. It sounds simple.
It's a common misconception, isn't it? We all engage in conversation daily, so we naturally assume we've got the skills to interview.
Exactly. And Portigal directly challenges that comfortable assumption right from page 1. He makes it super clear that while user research is undoubtedly something everyone in an organization can and should participate in, particularly in consuming the results,
Sure.
the act of conducting effective interviews is a highly specialized skill. It is miles away from casual conversation because it demands deliberate practice.
Okay.
We have to actively override our ingrained conversational habits.
Yeah.
Those polite nods, the tendency to fill silences.
Oh, yeah, the awkward silence filler.
Totally. Instead, you have to cultivate a different kind of engagement, one that truly allows us to gather unbiased, deep understanding. Our brains are kind of wired for social back and forth, but an interview needs a more disciplined, purposeful interaction.
So it's not about polite chit-chat or steering the conversation towards what we want to hear.
No, not at all.
It's about a purposeful, structured inquiry that goes far beyond surface-level answers to uncover something genuinely new.
Precisely. At its core, user research, and interviewing in particular, it centers the human experience.
Okay, what does that mean exactly? Centers the human experience.
It means shifting your focus entirely onto the individual you're speaking with. It's about getting as close as possible to users to hear directly about their desires, their expectations, their struggles, and what they truly need to get things done. Or, sometimes even more revealing, what they're willing to put up with, what Portigal calls satisficing. It is, in his words, a thorough analysis into the lives of customers, moving beyond abstract demographics or, internal assumptions to the raw, unfiltered truth.
That focus on the human experience, that really brings us to the transformative impact of all this. If you do this well, what happens? Not just for the research, but for the whole team or organization. What's the ripple effect?
Oh, the impact is profound, and it really reverberates throughout an organization. First, interviewing creates this shared, often galvanizing experience for the entire product development team.
Galvanizing, I like that.
Yeah. And this isn't just for dedicated researchers. It actively includes designers, engineers, marketers, product management folks. everyone.
Right.
When team members directly witness a user interacting with their product, maybe struggling with a feature or expressing a really deep desire, it moves the user from being this abstract concept like a persona on a wall or a line item in a sprint
Yeah, just a data point.
to a real live person in all their glorious complexity. I've actually seen developers literally light up or sometimes recoil in understanding when they see someone struggle with something they personally built.
Hmm.
That moment is incredibly powerful.
So it's about making the user tangible, creating that undeniable human connection that changes how people think about their work.
Absolutely. By connecting with individuals in this way, team members inherently increase their overall capacity for empathy. And this isn't just some soft skill to pick a box.
Hmm.
This evolution in how individuals see themselves and their work begins to drive significant, tangible shifts in an organization's culture. Empathy, when it's cultivated systematically through interviewing, becomes a necessary, though maybe not sufficient, condition for genuine cultural change that truly prioritizes the customer.
Okay.
It creates a foundation where customer centricity isn't just a buzzword people throw around, but a lived reality.
And beyond the empathy, which is clearly vital, how does this translate into concrete business outcomes? Does this structured curiosity ultimately translate into, say, innovation?
This is where it gets really interesting, because the answer is a resounding yes. Well-planned and well-conducted interviews can reveal entirely new frames or mental models that shift how you understand a problem.
Hmm.
Sometimes they even flip a long-standing problem completely on its head. Portigal offers this fascinating example of a team developing a smart hard hat.
Okay.
Through their interviews, they uncovered not just a significant business risk for their initial product idea, but also an unanticipated opportunity around get this, the social performance of hard hats.
Social performance of hard hats. What does that even mean?
Right, like how they look, how people feel wearing them in front of others.
Okay.
Well, they ultimately decided not to pursue the fashionable hard hat.
Okay.
The interviews deeply informed their decision and highlighted new, unexpected considerations for future product lines. These new perspectives are absolutely crucial for identifying innovative opportunities, guiding the design of new products or services, refining hypotheses for solutions, or even redesigning existing offerings. It's about connecting that deep understanding directly to actionable insights that ultimately deliver business impact. It's not just about learning what to build, but sometimes even more powerfully, what not to build, saving immense resources.
That story really illustrates the hidden power of this work. Okay, let's dig into Steve Portigal's comprehensive framework. This isn't just about showing up and asking questions. There's a meticulous, structured process involved, starting long before you ever meet a participant. It begins with laying the groundwork.
Indeed, Portigal emphasizes that an effective research project doesn't start with documentation, but with careful strategic thinking.
Right, thinking first.
Yeah. This high-level research plan is the foundational document summarizing three key elements: the overarching business problem you're trying to solve, the specific research questions that will guide your inquiry, and the agreed-upon research method you'll employ.
Mm-hmm.
Thoroughly reviewing and aligning on this plan with your entire team is absolutely critical before you even begin the detailed work. Get everyone on the same page.
So it really starts with drilling down into the why. What specific business problems are we trying to solve with this research?
Precisely. Research needs to address concrete, measurable business problems.
Yeah.
For instance, you might be asking, why did a new product launch underperform so badly? How can we successfully enter a brand new market segment? Why is a particular competitor suddenly gaining market share against our main product?
Yeah, the tough questions.
Or even on a smaller scale, how do we roadmap new features for an existing service that genuinely resonate with our users? Each of these business problems then translates into specific, actionable research questions.
Okay.
If, for example, a product's repeat orders are surprisingly low, your research question might be something like, what are the key emotional highs and lows people experience when using this product from start to finish? What moments cause frustration and what brings delight?
Got it.
This clarity ensures the research is directly tied to tangible business value, not just, academic curiosity.
And to get that initial clarity, you need to talk to a lot of people internally, right? It's not just the research team figuring this out in a vacuum.
Absolutely not. Understanding and framing the business problem crucially requires talking to your internal stakeholders, the people who own the problem, who will act on the insights.
Right.
Portigal suggests ideally 6 to 8 of them for focused 30 to 60-minute conversations. This aligns objectives, manages expectations, and really sets the stage for collaborative work later on.
Makes sense.
What's particularly insightful is that many of the interviewing techniques Portigal discusses for external users apply here, too. It might feel less comfortable asking dumb questions of your internal leadership,
Sure. Yeah, probably.
but you need to understand their assumptions, their theories, and their most burning questions about the problem space. It's like an internal discovery process before the external one.
So before you even talk to a user, you're already doing a kind of internal reconnaissance, building a landscape of existing knowledge and assumptions. What else happens before you start the actual external interviews?
Before you interact with any external participants, Portigal strongly suggests immersing yourself in the topic. This immersion before interaction phase is all about becoming conversant with the subject matter.
Okay.
It involves a deep dive into secondary research, poring over press articles, academic papers, industry blogs, competitor analysis, and interviewing internal subject matter experts. Beyond reading, you should also try the experiences yourself. If it's a new streaming service, sign up and use it. If it's a physical product, buy it, unbox it, use it.
Get hands-on.
And, crucially, observe similar products or environments. Portigal recalls a project focused on customer connection, where his team visited a variety of places. An Apple store, known for its customer experience, the iconic Powell's books, to see how people connected with a physical space, and even a dog park,
A dog park. Okay, why a dog park?
to observe how people bonded with their pets and with each other. It all helps you gather language, identify key concepts, and develop informed topics to explore during your actual interviews.
This sounds like building your intellectual and experiential context before you ask others to share theirs. It prevents you from asking really naive questions, I guess.
Exactly. And how do you choose if interviewing is even the right method for the problem at hand?
Yeah, that's key too. It's not always the answer.
That is a profoundly critical decision, and one Portigal dedicates significant attention to. Interviewing isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's not for every problem. It fundamentally favors depth of understanding over statistical significance.
Depth over breadth.
Right. Its semi-structured nature ensures that each conversation can reveal something completely new and unexpected, allowing for emergent themes. However, it's not purely naturalistic observation where you just watch behavior.
Okay.
And critically, Portigal reminds us that people are not good at predicting their future behavior, especially for hypothetical situations. This is a key bias to manage.
Ah, the prediction problem.
Yeah. So if you ask how much would you pay for this new product, you're not getting a definitive pricing strategy number.
Right. Don't take it literally.
Instead, you're learning about their rationale, their mental models of value, their aspirations, their current frustrations, and what they wish existed. The insight is in why they give an answer, not necessarily taking the answer as a literal future prediction.
That nuance is a game changer. So interviewing is like a scalpel, designed for specific types of qualitative insights rather than a broad statistical survey.
Well put.
Once you're confident that interviews are the right approach, what are the nitty-gritty logistics you need to master?
The logistics are crucial and, frankly, often underestimated. First, finding the right participants is a foundational yet frequently overlooked step. Portigal strongly advises against casual methods like relying on friends, family, or those informal guerrilla intercepts in public spaces.
Yeah, the coffee shop approach. Probably not ideal.
Usually not. For more established teams, he recommends relying on specialized research operations teams or research ops on participant panels, or external recruiting agencies that have the expertise and infrastructure to find suitable candidates.
Research ops, that's a whole relatively new discipline in itself, isn't it? It
Right.
sounds like the unsung hero of research.
It absolutely is, and it's rapidly gaining recognition for its strategic importance. Kate Towsey, often affectionately called the Queen of Research Ops, highlights its vital role in enabling research to scale effectively within an organization.
Okay.
REOPS provides the essential infrastructure, efficient routes for finding participants, documented protocols for consistency, budget allocation, robust scheduling tools, legal-approved processes like NDAs and informed consent forms,
It's all the back-end stuff.
resources for field trips, dedicated research spaces, and streamlined incentive platforms. It covers project planning, scoping, budgeting, vendor knowledge, crucial knowledge management, internal communication, and continuous process improvement.
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah. The overarching aim of REOPS is to make research faster, more efficient, but fundamentally better, more ethical, more sustainable, and ultimately more impactful. It takes care of all the crucial scaffolding so researchers can truly focus on the insights.
That makes so much sense. So With research ops or an agency handling the heavy lifting, how do you then define who you want to talk to? How specific do you need to be?
You need to craft incredibly clear and precise criteria for your participant sample. For example, it's not just people who cook, but something more targeted, like households who regularly use a meal kit service, living in a mix of urban, suburban, and rural environments between the ages of 25-55 who have children under 12.
Very specific.
Yeah. And Portigal makes a crucial counterintuitive point here. Who you learn from isn't necessarily who you build for.
Oh, interesting. Say more about that.
You might intentionally include diverse perspectives, such as non-users of your product, extreme users, subject matter experts, or even what he calls haters.
Haters, really?
Yeah, not to validate their negativity, but to highlight characteristics of your target users by contrast. For instance, observing why someone detests product X might illuminate what makes it so indispensable for its core users.
Ah, okay. Learning from the contrast.
Exactly. Inclusive research sampling means thinking deeply about the specific dimensions of diversity relevant to your product or problem, rather than trying to include absolutely everyone in every single study.
That's a really interesting point, learning from the edges and the contrast. What about the eternal question of sample size? How many people do you actually need to interview to get meaningful results?
The elusive question that haunts every qualitative researcher. Academically, the ideal is saturation stopping when you learn nothing new, when themes start repeating.
Sounds good in theory.
But it's incredibly hard to apply practically in a business context, as you often don't know when you've hit that point until after the fact. Subjectively, Portigal suggests aiming for enough data to find meaningful patterns, but not so much that you can't remember individual participants and their unique stories.
Right, you lose the detail.
Yeah. If a study feels too large or unwieldy, he advises breaking it into smaller sequential efforts, using early learnings to inform and refine later questions. It makes it an iterative process. It's about efficiency and impact, not just hitting some magic number.
And to find those meticulously defined participants, you need a good screener. What makes a screener genuinely effective?
A screener is basically a survey-like document designed to qualify potential participants, making sure they meet your specific criteria. A golden rule is to use objective questions, whenever possible, over subjective ones.
Like?
So instead of asking, do you regularly cook at home, which is open to interpretation, you'd ask, in the last week, how many dinners have you prepared at home? That's measurable.
Got it.
And crucially, Portigal advises, don't reveal who you want to be in your study. This is a subtle but powerful technique to prevent misrepresentation.
How does that work?
For example, if you're looking for gamers in a specific age bracket, use multiple choice options for age ranges or game types, rather than explicitly stating, we're looking for 18-24-year-old RPG players. This helps ensure you get genuinely qualified participants who aren't just telling you what they think you want to hear.
That's a clever, almost sneaky, but entirely effective approach. Once you've got your finely tuned screener and your participants are identified, it's all about the invitation and scheduling.
Message crafting is absolutely key here. Avoid jargon at all costs, no personas or moderating in your outreach.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Be crystal clear and specific about the ask. We'd like a 1-hour conversation, ideally at your home or a location convenient for you, with 1 or 2 of our colleagues present, and we'll be recording the audio-video. We'll also need you to sign a release form. And, of course, be specific about the offer, like a $125 gift card for your time. Anticipate and address potential concerns up front, such as, we won't ask to see any sensitive account details.
Right. Reassure them.
When scheduling, be accommodating to participants, often meaning evenings or weekends for consumers. And here's a critical piece of advice from Portigal. Don't overpack fieldwork days.
Oh, where's that?
He suggests a maximum of 2 interviews per day. It allows ample time for debriefs between sessions, travel if needed, and just emotional processing, because conducting interviews is hard, focused, and mentally demanding work. You need that buffer time.
I can imagine how emotionally and mentally draining it must be, holding space for someone else's experiences for hours on end. What about the necessary legal side of things?
Legal protections are not just good practice, they're a must-have. A release form is a non-negotiable legal document. It clarifies rights and expectations for consent, outlines the incentive, addresses model release for photos or video, covers non-disclosure agreements or NDAs, and details data privacy. You absolutely must work with your legal department to balance legal efficacy with regular folks lingo so participants actually understand what they're signing.
Good point. Make it understandable.
And always send these documents ahead of time. It avoids awkward surprises and builds trust right at the start of an interview.
And those incentives, what's the best way to handle compensation or appreciation?
View incentives as an enthusiastically demonstrative thank you, rather than just compensation for time.
A thank you, not a payment.
Exactly. The actual amounts vary widely depending on the audience and region, and recruiting agencies are excellent resources for advising on appropriate levels. For professionals, direct cash might not be appropriate due to employer policies or internal ethics.
Ah, right.
Alternatives like gift cards for popular coffee shops, meal delivery, charitable donations, product discounts, or even an exclusive presentation of research findings are often better received and more effective. Transparency is essential. Participants should know exactly how and when they'll receive their incentive.
With all that meticulous planning done from the business problem to the legal forms and incentives, the next big step is crafting the actual interview guide. This sounds like the heart of the conversation, but as you mentioned, it's not a script.
Exactly. It is an essential preparatory step that prepares you for flexibility. The interview guide or discussion guide details what you intend to cover, but Portigal stresses that interviews almost never happen as you imagine.
Right. People go off on tangents.
Always.
Yep.
Having a detailed plan beforehand is what actually prepares you to be nimble and responsive in the moment, and it ensures the whole team is aligned on what you're setting out to discover.
So definitely not a script to be read word for word, which I guess is a common mistake for new interviewers.
Definitely not a script.
Yeah.
Most guides follow a general, logical flow, a warm introduction and gathering participant background, then the main body of topics you need to explore, followed by more expansive projection dream questions, and finally a wrap-up.
Okay.
Assigning rough durations to sections helps you manage time, even if you don't stick to them rigidly. Portigal strongly advises writing questions as you would actually ask them, using natural conversational language. For example, is there a single word that captures the thing you most like about wine? This creates a more realistic and usable plan for the actual interview.
I really love the idea of projection dream questions. What are those all about, and what kind of insights do they typically reveal?
These are brilliant. Near the end of an interview, when participants are usually feeling engaged and comfortable, these are what Portigal calls audacious questions. They're designed to encourage people to go farther beyond the familiar, to stretch their imagination.
Like what kind of questions?
Examples include, if we came back in 5 years to check in, what would be different in your life or with this product? Or if you had a magic wand, what's one thing you would change about this experience or something you would wish for?
The magic wand question.
Classic. These questions aren't seeking accurate predictions about the future. Instead, they are powerful tools to reveal deep mental models, aspirations, unmet needs, and what truly matters to people. They help you understand their ideal vision for the future, unconstrained by current realities. They often uncover core values.
That's a great way to tap into deeper desires and underlying motivations that might not come out with more direct questions. And this concept of a modular interview guide sounds intriguing.
It is. Michael Davis Burchett, for example, created a modular guide by putting each question or topic on an individual card that could be spread out.
Oh, like physically spread out.
Yeah. He found that this physical arrangement actually helped build rapport by reducing the perceived distance between the interviewer and participant. It made the interview feel more like a shared journey, a collaborative and transparent exploration, rather than a rigid interrogation. It absolutely reinforces the idea that the guide is a living, flexible tool, not a static checklist.
So we've planned meticulously and crafted our flexible guide. But interviewing isn't just about asking questions, is it? Portigal goes much deeper into what he calls contextual methods. What does that involve?
This is where the truly rich data emerges, moving beyond purely verbal interaction to understand user behavior in their natural environment. One key technique, which often surprises people, is assigning pre-work, or what amounts to participant homework.
Like actual homework from school? What kind of assignments are we talking about here?
Yes, exactly like homework. For example, you might ask participants to save their physical mail unopened for a few days before your visit, or to keep a log of their phone usage over a week, or maybe document their daily banking activities.
Okay.
This serves a few purposes. First, it primes them, encouraging them to be more introspective and aware of the topic before you even arrive.
That's them thinking.
Yeah. Second, it provides you with concrete, rich examples for discussion during the interview, rather than relying solely on their memory from, 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And cleverly, it also acts as a subtle screener. If the dog ate their homework, metaphorically or literally.
Mm-hmm.
It can indicate a lower level of engagement, which might impact the quality of the interview.
Ah,
The real value, though, is having an extensive set of fresh examples to discuss, and a participant who has already been thinking deeply about the topic.
that makes perfect sense. You're not just relying on their memory in the moment, you're giving them a chance to collect data themselves, making the insights much more reliable. What about observe and demonstrate?
Right. So rather than simply asking someone to describe a process they undertake, you arrange to observe activities as they naturally occur. Portigal recounts sitting in a family's kitchen at 7 a.m. to watch their morning rituals,
Mm.
how they prepare coffee, what happens at the breakfast table, all the surrounding context.
Being a fly on the wall.
Exactly. Then, once you've observed, you ask participants to show you their process. Noting the subtle divergences between what is observed their actual behavior and what is taught their verbal description of that behavior can reveal key insights.
Like what?
Like a crucial step in coffee preparation. They perform instinctively, but don't verbalize as important. It's about having a broad palette of approaches to look for those subtle differences that reveal underlying habits or unconscious actions.
It's like collecting evidence from multiple angles to get a complete picture. What about bringing your own tools or artifacts to the interview to stimulate discussion?
That's another incredibly powerful approach. You can use tangible maps to shift abstract concepts into concrete artifacts.
Maps.
For instance, in a workflow study, participants might use sticky notes to map out complex processes on a large sheet of paper. Or, for a project about smart homes, they might draw maps of their house, showing where different technologies are located and how they interact. These artifacts become focal points for discussion and provide invaluable visual documentation, making the invisible visible.
That's brilliant, giving them a canvas to express their world.
You can also design structured exercises. This might involve participants drawing timelines of their experiences, prioritizing a list of items based on importance, or even writing love letters or breakup letters to products they use, expressing your deepest feelings.
Love letters to products. That's creative.
It is. Providing simple tools like worksheets, pens, and markers adds structure and legitimacy to these deeper inquiries, encouraging participants to engage on a different, more reflective level than just answering questions.
And participatory design. That sounds like true co-creation with the user.
It absolutely is. This involves giving participants tools to actively envision new solutions or improvements. Researchers might provide blank mobile device screens and ask users to draw out their ideal user interfaces,
Oh, cool.
or even use simple found objects as proxies for future devices, asking them to explain how they would interact with them. This empowers them to co-create and express their ideal solutions in a very tangible and immediate way, bypassing the limitations of purely verbal descriptions.
This sounds very hands-on and highly engaging, leading to incredibly rich insights. What about showing them concepts or prototypes during the interview?
When you introduce concepts or prototypes, Portigal emphasizes that often the goal is to deeply understand the problem space or design criteria, rather than just to concept test a solution you already have.
Okay, so learning, not just testing.
Right. You show specific stimuli, which could be anything from early wireframes to polished prototypes.
Hmm.
He even suggests using non-viable or unlikely concepts, perhaps a mock-up of an absurdly tiny mobile phone.
Ah.
Not because you'd ever build it, but to provoke dialogue and explore the boundaries of desirability and functionality. The key is to present these concepts neutrally. What do you think about this?
Mm.
And if participants turn the tables and ask about features, like how much will it cost, when will this be available, you employ what he calls the interviewer sidestep.
The sidestep.
Okay, instead of answering, you redirect. That's an interesting question. Is that important to you, or what would you expect it to be? The aim is always to elicit their needs, expectations, and mental models, not to become the expert giving answers.
So it's about provoking a reaction to learn, not just validating an idea you already have. And what about using images or cards as discussion starters?
Images that resonate, whether stock photos, magazine cutouts, or even abstract art or casual card sorts where participants group online services or product features on sticky notes, can be incredibly effective.
That's so.
These prompts can instantly trigger emotional reactions, spark richer discussions, and reveal underlying belief structures or mental models that are difficult to articulate directly. You can even bring blank cards to write new concepts on the fly, making it highly interactive.
So many creative ways to get people talking and thinking beyond direct questions. And sometimes you just need to simply watch and observe right.
Absolutely. Observation and shadowing are crucial contextual methods. These allow you to see how people go about tasks in their natural environment when direct interaction isn't possible or desired.
Like where?
Think of observing the controlled chaos of a restaurant kitchen during peak hours, or how a mobile blood donation van operates throughout its day. You're seeing real behavior in context, not just hearing about it, which often reveals unconscious habits or environmental constraints.
How do you make sense of all that observation without direct questions? How do you know what to focus on?
That's where structured observation frameworks come in. Portigal suggests using established models like PUA-MIMS, which is an acronym for People, Objects, Environments, Messages, and Services,
Poems.
and AEIOU, standing for Activities, Environments, Interactions, Objects, and Users. These frameworks provide categories to focus your observations and ensure you're systematically capturing important details, often documented via an observation guide.
Got it. Gives you structure.
Yeah. There's even an exercise he describes called suspending your senses, for instance.
Yeah.
Observing a scene with your eyes closed, then from a distance to help you reflect on and actively develop your observational abilities, sharpening your focus.
That's a powerful idea, actively practicing observation to hone your skills. And what about exploring complex interactions that haven't happened yet? Things that are in the realm of future possibilities.
For that, scenario-based methods like role-playing and improv are invaluable. You might have participants wear fanciful signs representing different smart home devices or roles in a new service, and then ask them to act out future possibilities or typical interactions.
Like acting it out.
Yeah, this helps explore complex interactions and future possibilities that are otherwise hard for people to articulate or even fully imagine in a purely verbal context. It makes the abstract tangible and experiential.
So we've meticulously planned, we've thought about all these different contextual methods, and now we're actually in the field conducting the interview. This is where all that preparation meets the unpredictable reality of human interaction. What does Portigal say about team dynamics during field work?
Keeping the field team lean is absolutely crucial, and Portigal is quite firm on this. The ideal size is 2 people, a lead interviewer and a backup, often taking notes.
What's 2?
Ideally, yes. Even introducing a third person can significantly shift power dynamics, making participants feel less open, more scrutinized, or like they're performing for an audience. Portigal is extremely resistant to larger teams, noting the delicate social psychology at play. It's a trade-off between giving more team members direct exposure to users and maintaining the intimacy and depth of the interview.
And how do you prepare colleagues who might be new to this, especially if they're not trained researchers themselves? They're often eager to jump in, but that could derail things, right?
Oh yeah, proactive preparation is key to ensuring a positive and productive experience for everyone. You need to brief colleagues on some basic, yet vital rules. First, the lead interviewer runs the session. Full stop.
Okay, clear leader.
Second, the second interviewer's primary role is to actively listen and take notes, holding their questions for appropriate times, perhaps during a natural break or right at the end.
Not interrupting.
Right. You must emphasize that we aren't the experts, the people we are interviewing are. They should be encouraged to use the participants' language and to ask open-ended questions if they do speak. Sharing daily highlights keeps everyone aligned and engaged, without overwhelming the participant. It's about setting clear boundaries and fostering a respectful environment.
That sounds like crucial advice, setting expectations to avoid accidentally derailing the interview. What about remote research, which has become so prevalent in recent years? Are there specific considerations there?
Oh yes, remote interviews require their own specific planning and etiquette. If you have observers, set up a live stream, view-only back room for them, but always tell the participant up front that others are listening.
Transparency is key.
Absolutely. This maintains transparency. Often one interviewer will monitor observer comments for any urgent clarifying questions. It's critical for the interviewer to avoid visible multitasking. Switching focus between windows or checking emails is immediately visible to the participant and sends a clear message that you're not paying full attention.
Yeah, you can totally tell when someone's doing that.
Totally. Also, Manage Calendar invites incredibly carefully to protect participant information and prevent colleagues from accidentally joining the wrong session. Remote demands even greater discipline.
So a lot of deliberate choices to maintain focus and respect for the participant, even across a screen. A big concern for many researchers, especially new ones, is managing bias. What does Portigal say about that constant challenge?
Bias is indeed a constant, pervasive challenge. Beyond conscious ethical considerations, Portigal focuses heavily on cognitive biases, the unconscious automatic ways our brains distort information, filter perceptions, and make snap judgments.
Our mental shortcuts.
Exactly. These are driven by deep-seated beliefs like, my experience is a reasonable reference point for everyone else, or I make correct assessments of the world. These biases are hardwired into human cognition, but recognizing them is the absolutely crucial first step towards mitigating their influence.
And how do you begin to overcome something so deeply ingrained in how we think and perceive the world? It sounds almost impossible to truly shed.
Portigal's approach here is both counterintuitive and profoundly liberating. He talks about the joy of being wrong.
The joy of being wrong. I like that.
Yeah. Cultivating humility, genuine curiosity, and a deep reflectiveness is crucial for any researcher. The most joyous, transformative moments in research often come from realizing you had an assumption you didn't even know existed. Perhaps a long-held belief about how users interact with a certain product, and then having that assumption completely shattered and shedding it.
Wow.
This act of letting go of preconceptions is what research truly is about, moving from a state of presumed knowing to a genuine, open-minded discovery. It's an embrace of vulnerability.
Joy of being wrong.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. It reframes what many might see as a personal failure into a powerful opportunity for discovery. What about those common, almost dogmatic pieces of advice we often hear, like never ask about the future?
Portigal offers a wonderfully nuanced take, which he dubs never say never again.
Okay.
His advice is to avoid dogmatic rules of thumb. Instead, he encourages you to ask all sorts of questions, but be aware of how you should understand the responses.
Understand the nature of the response.
Exactly. So, for example, asking, how much would you pay for this new product, isn't for a definitive pricing strategy number. Instead, it's a way to learn about their rationale, their mental models of value, their aspirations, their current frustrations.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, asking about future behavior reveals possibilities, preferences, and mental models that exist today, not literal, reliable predictions of what they will do. The key is understanding the purpose of your question and the nature of the answer you're likely to receive, then interpreting it appropriately.
That's a great nuance that I think many researchers miss. It's not about avoiding certain questions, but understanding what you're actually getting from the answer. Now, let's talk about building rapport and navigating those delicate social interactions during the actual interview.
The first few moments, what Portigal calls crossing the threshold, are absolutely critical for setting the tone. Clearly identify yourself and your purpose, often using a product name the participant recognizes, rather than a company name they might not.
Right, make it relatable.
Introduce your team briefly. Offer to remove your shoes if you're in their home, and be prepared to ask where they'd prefer to start the session. Set up seating for easy eye contact and optimal lighting. Ask to turn off any obvious distractions like TVs or loud music.
Mm-hmm.
If offered a drink, accept it as a social grace, but keep it brief. And crucially, do not let small talk morph into actual questioning before the consent forms are signed and recording officially begins. That establishes professionalism.
So small talk is good for rapport, but keep it brief and clearly separate from the actual interview. Then you restate objectives.
Yes, once everyone is settled, thank the participants sincerely and use their terminology, e.g. market research, if that's clearer to them than user experience research, to describe your work at a high level.
Use their words.
Yeah. Portigal also suggests a power-sharing agreement by directly asking, what are your expectations for this conversation? Is there anything you hope we cover or avoid? This proactively manages their understanding, gives them a sense of agency, and sets a collaborative, respectful tone for the entire session.
And what if things inevitably get a bit awkward? The interview isn't a normal conversation, so it won't always feel natural, will it?
No, absolutely not. The interview is, by its very nature, an atypical event. Participants will often try to map it to familiar scenarios, like a social call, a job interview, or a meeting, but it's fundamentally none of those.
Right.
You need to leverage its constructed nature to ask silly-seeming, detailed questions about the mundane, to truly unpack everyday behaviors. If you, as the interviewer, feel uncomfortable with a line of questioning or a moment of silence, Portigal's advice is invaluable. Try to set that feeling aside and proceed.
Push through your own discomfort.
Your discomfort doesn't necessarily mean the participant is uncomfortable. It might simply mean you're in new, fertile territory.
That's powerful advice to push through your own discomfort. But what if a participant is actively disrespectful or uses discriminatory language? That's beyond mere awkwardness.
Absolutely. Greg Bernstein's advice here is very clear and important. You must have protocols in place. The consent form offers legal protection, but beyond that, be prepared to terminate remote sessions or leave an on-site location if your safety or respect, or that of your team, is compromised.
Safety first.
Always. It's vital to differentiate between honest, even harsh feedback directed to you about a product or service versus discriminatory or harassing language directed at you or your team. Personal safety and respect are non-negotiable.
That's a serious consideration that every researcher needs to be prepared for. Portigal includes a powerful anecdote, the Brian story, that really stuck with me about persistence in these challenging situations. Can you tell us about that?
The Brian story is a classic example of patience and methodical persistence triumphing over initial hostility, and it's a story every interviewer should know. The interviewer walked into a situation with Brian, his parents, and brother, and it was immediately clear Brian was hostile and uncommunicative.
Oh, wow. Tough start.
Yet the parents were dismissive. It was a tough, uncomfortable environment. Instead of giving up or escalating, the interviewer focused on the next problem, compartmentalized his personal discomfort and frustration, and persisted with gentle, open-ended questions.
Didn't give up.
He didn't push too hard, but he didn't give up either. Over 2 hours, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the family gradually opened up. Brian started to offer details, his parents became more engaged, and eventually they yielded truly excellent, unexpected insights.
Amazing.
It wasn't magic, but a methodical focus on building rapport bit by bit, refusing to be discouraged even when things were incredibly awkward and unwelcoming. It speaks to the mental fortitude required.
That story really highlights the mental fortitude needed and the power of incremental progress. Moving on to the actual art of asking questions, and perhaps even more importantly, listening. What's one of the most powerful tools in an interviewer's arsenal?
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's silence. Robert Caro, the famous biographer, famously uses the shut-up technique, consciously limiting your verbal input after asking a question.
Just be quiet.
As an interviewer, you must resist the back-channel trap of constantly validating with wow or cool or uh-huh. Instead, merely acknowledge with a neutral ah or simply hold eye contact. This minimalist response creates a powerful vacuum, giving the participant explicit permission to elaborate further, to reflect more deeply without feeling steered or judged.
It's harder than it sounds, isn't it, to just be quiet, especially when the silence stretches. Our instinct is to fill it.
It truly is. It feels unnatural at first, almost rude. But when participants share emotional content, whether joy or frustration, staying present with truly empathic follow-up questions, or simply maintaining that intentional silence demonstrates compassion and respect more effectively than preemptive apologies or attempts to fix their feelings. Werner Herzog's Grizzly Man documentary, for example, illustrates how deeply uncomfortable silence can lead to devastating emotional truths. And as Lynn Shade notes regarding cultural differences in Japan, silence plays varied roles, setting the stage, indicating deep thought, or even signaling confusion. So it's a very active, rather than passive, form of listening.
So silence is a tool, a deliberate strategic choice, not just an absence of interaction. And how you ask questions matters beyond just the words themselves.
Absolutely. Portigal stresses the importance of paralinguistic cues, your tone, pitch, volume, and non-linguistic cues, your gestures, facial expressions, body language.
Everything but the words.
Right. These all convey your underlying intent. You should practice asking questions aloud, even to yourself, to ensure your delivery matches your genuine curiosity and openness, rather than sounding leading, accusatory, or indifferent. Your nonverbal signals are just as important as your verbal ones in building trust.
What's in Portigal's rich palette of question types that helps us get to those deeper insights?
He provides a wealth of strategies, moving far beyond basic inquiries. For instance, probing for details. Instead of generic questions, ask for specifics. Don't ask, what movies do you stream? Ask, what was the last movie you streamed? Tell me about that specific experience. What did you like? What frustrated you?
Get specific examples.
Yeah. Probe for the sequence, quantity, exceptions, complete lists, relationships, or organizational structure. This grounds the conversation in concrete experience. Then there's probing the unsaid. Clarify code words or unusual terminology. You use the word aggravator for your inbox. What does that term mean to you? Why do you use that specific word?
Digging into their language.
Ask about emotional cues. You laughed when you mentioned Best Buy. What was funny about that? Delicately probe difficult or sensitive situations without judgment. One powerful technique is to probe without presuming, using indirect phrasing. Some people have very negative feelings about X while others don't. What is your take?
Avoid leading them.
You can also ask participants to explain to an outsider or teach another person how something works, which reveals their underlying mental models. And finally, creating contrasts. Ask about success versus failure, comparing a preferred process to a frustrating one, comparing their experience to others they know, or comparing experiences across time. How do you think it will be different 5 years from now?
Ah.
Again, the last one reveals current hopes and fears, not literal predictions. These contrasts illuminate what really matters.
That gives you so many ways to get at the truth without leading someone or putting words in their mouth. But an interview isn't a linear process like reading a book, is it? You can't just stick to the script.
Not at all. Portigal vividly describes the interview not as a linear guide, but as a branching tree of emerging questions. Your interview guide is your trunk, but new topics sprout off like branches as the participant shares.
A tree, okay.
Your job is to manage this complexity, track new threads, and constantly decide whether to follow a promising branch immediately, park a topic for later, or gently bridge and redirect back to your main objectives. You must avoid ignoring uncomfortable but potentially important topics. He gives the example of an interviewer who missed a crucial emotional cue about a panic attack because they were too focused on the guide.
Oof, yeah. Don't want to miss that.
Right. The goal is to strive for a flow state, like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi talked about, where you are deeply immersed and present, yet calmly managing the interview's intellectual and emotional demands, keeping all those branching paths in mind.
And finally, the key principle that underpins all of this, embracing your participants' worldview.
This is absolutely fundamental and incredibly challenging for many. You must consciously use their language and terminology, even if it feels awkward or incorrect to your ears. Portigal recounts an experience where a client corrected a participant's pronunciation of TiVo as TiVo instead of the standard TiVo.
Oh, no.
This seemingly small act made the participant feel stupid and immediately shifted the power dynamic, shutting them down. Portigal argues it was right to be wrong and simply use their term. You also avoid imposing your own models or frameworks onto their experience. Don't force their narrative into your preconceived categories, like when a client pushed an old Keith versus new Keith idea, which the participants simply didn't resonate with.
Let their story be their story.
Exactly. And crucially, don't lecture. Resist the urge to share your own beliefs, offer solutions, or fix their problems during the interview itself. Save that for the very end, and only if it's truly appropriate and helpful to them, like offering to adjust a monitor setting. Mark Maron's infamous WTF interview with Jonathan Winters, for instance, provides both positive and negative examples of how easily interviewers can project their own interpretations or desires onto the interviewee. Hashtag 2.4, making sense of the data and driving impact.
So you've done the interviews, you've navigated all these complexities, and now you have a wealth of raw data, hours of recordings, pages of notes. What's the next step? It can't just sit there, right?
Absolutely not. The data is just the beginning. The first major step is rigorous, thorough documentation. Portigal is emphatic. You can't catch everything by taking notes alone, especially during a high cognitive load interview where you're focused on listening and asking.
Right, too much going on.
Yeah. Audio or video recording is essential to capture definitive, detailed records and avoid subtle misinterpretations in the moment. For example, mistaking Zen, referring to a product brand for Zen Buddhism, could completely derail your understanding of a user's philosophy if you only have shorthand notes.
But notes still play a crucial role, I assume, even with recordings.
Yes, notes are vital, but their purpose shifts. They help you actively process, filter, synthesize, and ultimately remember key points. Handwritten notes are often preferred for their kinesthetic learning benefits and for capturing the gist or the flow, as noted by Jorge Arango. Notes should primarily be descriptive, not interpretive. For example, write, "Participant worked 14 Thursday," rather than "Larry is a workaholic."
Yep.
If you do need to include interpretations or your own ideas, clearly separate them visually from the raw observations.
And when it comes to the recordings themselves, audio or video, what does Portigal recommend?
Audio captures verbal interactions clearly, often with digital recorders or external microphones. But video is frequently the default choice, and often the most valuable. It captures crucial nonverbal cues, gestures, facial expressions, body language, as well as demonstrations of tasks and the environmental context.
See the whole picture.
Right. A simple mini tripod can make a huge difference. Ted Frank offers excellent tips for quality video, including careful participant placement, ensuring good lighting, ideally from the side to avoid harsh shadows, and prioritizing clear sound quality.
Oh.
Beyond recordings, visual documentation like photography, always with consent, no flash, and ideally with a pre-planned shot list. And scutting, like Caroline James's sketchnoting, or symbol diagrams by the interviewer, also capture critical visual information or reflect back to participants. And don't forget to collect tangible artifacts that users might share, brochures, printouts, whatever.
Once everything's documented, what happens immediately after an interview? You can't just move straight to the next one without processing.
That's right. Immediately after an interview, you should debrief with your field team on key takeaways. This is a rapid-fire session to capture what stood out most. Then, you should rapidly write top-of-mind field highlights. These are lightweight, shareable stories or key observations that you can quickly distribute to the broader project team.
Get the word out fast.
Yeah. This brings the flavor of the field work back to the organization very quickly, triggering early discussion and generating interest. It's about maintaining momentum and excitement around the research.
That's the documentation phase. Then comes the real magic, analysis and synthesis. What's the difference and how do you approach it?
While analysis and synthesis are often used interchangeably in casual conversation, Portigal distinguishes them as distinct but integrated activities. Analysis is the process of breaking down raw data into smaller, manageable pieces, identifying components.
Breaking it down.
Synthesis is the creative act of combining those pieces into something new. New patterns, new insights, new models that wasn't apparent in the individual parts.
Building it back up.
Exactly.
And where do you start with that transformation from data to insight?
After fieldwork is complete, you compile what he calls a top-line report of maybe 5-15 thematic topics. These emerge from those immediate debriefs and field highlights. This is an initial, quick processing of the entire research experience, documenting early patterns and weak signals without overinterpreting.
Okay.
It's formal enough for a Word document or Google Docs, but less formal than a polished slide deck, specifically to avoid it being misinterpreted as conclusive. Final findings is an intermediate step.
Then you tag the data. This sounds like the core of analysis, breaking it down.
Yes. Transcripts are key here, offering a verbatim record. You divide them among the team, often 2-3 interviews per person for thorough review and tagging. This process often uses specialized qualitative data analysis software or CAC-UDAS tools or other UX-specific software. You employ inductive bottom-up coding, meaning you let the data speak for itself, identifying themes and patterns directly from the participants' words, and writing memos for insights as they emerge. This iterative process can sometimes even lead to new or refined research questions that you didn't anticipate.
And once the data is analyzed and tagged, how do you synthesize it collaboratively into a shared understanding?
This happens in synchronous workshops, which are incredibly powerful. Each team member presents their coded transcripts as a kind of case study. Key points and compelling quotes are summarized on sticky notes, crucially, annotated with their source so you know where they came from.
Right, trackability.
And then collaboratively clustered into related categories, a process called affinity mapping. This highly interactive collaborative activity builds a new, shared point of view that goes beyond individual findings. It's how the team moves from individual observations and raw data points to collective understanding and emergent, holistic insights.
How do you then translate these robust, collaboratively derived insights into something truly actionable for the business?
You tailor the output, whether it's reports, presentations, or workshops, to the specific project objectives and, importantly, to your organization's norms and culture. Revisit those initial stakeholder interview learnings about their expectations.
Connect back.
It's crucial to help colleagues see the implications of the findings. For instance, if the finding is customers aren't clear on service tiers, you don't just state that. You explicitly add, this implies we need to help customers understand the differences and value proposition between our service tiers more effectively.
Spell out the so what.
Exactly. And then you use how might we, or HMW questions, to bridge those insights directly to actionable opportunities for brainstorming. For example, how might we clarify our service tiers so customers confidently ties the right one?
How might we? That's a brilliant segue into action, shifting from problem to possibility.
It's powerful because it asks about possibilities and immediately invites everyone to participate in solution finding, fostering a sense of ownership. The goal of brainstorming that follows is to generate a sheer quantity of ideas, not to dismiss them prematurely.
Get lots of ideas out there.
Encourage ideas beyond the purview of your immediate team. Look at solutions existing elsewhere, and even embrace bad ideas because they often spark good ones. It's all about generating a wide range of possibilities directly from the rich insights you've uncovered.
Finally, the ultimate goal, making an impact. How do you ensure that all this meticulous research actually drives action and doesn't just end up as a dusty report?
This is where strategic planning and internal advocacy come in. You need to establish mechanisms, like Salesforce's well-known spreadsheet tracker, to document past findings, recommendations, and the subsequent actions taken.
Track the impact.
Yeah. You also need to proactively prioritize research when demand outstrips resources. Kate Lawrence, for instance, famously once said yes to everything to build demand and secure more resources for her research team.
Interesting strategy.
While Aviva Rosenstein only worked with teams committed to acting on the research insights to ensure impact. Both are valid strategies depending on your organizational maturity.
So sometimes it's about building internal advocacy for research itself, demonstrating its value constantly.
Exactly. Avoid dramatic reveals of information. Instead, collaborating with your colleagues throughout the process creates a longer and calmer context for them to evolve their thinking. This ongoing collaboration is key.
Bring them along the journey.
Right. Balance, here's what we learned, with here's some proposals for future research to advocate for the continued value of research. User research is incredibly powerful for breaking that cycle of internal opinion by bringing a clear, external, user-centric point of view, replacing assumptions with undeniable insights.
That sounds like a powerful way to influence organizational culture and strategy, making research a strategic asset.
It is. Joyce Cacariol-Paul, for example, describes forming an insights council within her organization. This council served as a single voice of truth, triangulating existing data from various insights teams to influence company strategy.
Wow.
This proactive, coordinated approach led to significant impact on annual planning and secured more resources for research across the board. Promoting research internally, like LinkedIn's Field Day, where researchers wore lab coats and showcased their work, helped spread awareness and positive stories. Finally, assessing your organization's user research maturity from a laggard to mature state can help you identify specific areas for evolution and find allies to advocate for research at all levels.
What an incredible, thorough analysis we've undertaken through Steve Portigal's Interviewing Users. It's clear this isn't just a set of instructions, but a profound philosophy. So as we wrap up, what are the overarching key contributions from this exploration into user interviewing that can genuinely elevate any research framework, no matter the context?
What stands out to me first, above all else, is the absolute imperative of a human-centric approach. Portigal's work fundamentally emphasizes checking your worldview at the door and cultivating a bland curiosity.
Bland curiosity.
Yeah, it means not imposing your excitement or judgment. This is more than just collecting data. It's about a genuine, almost spiritual desire to embrace how other people see the world, their unique environments, their personal language, and their lived context as the primary source of truth, rather than imposing your own assumptions or filtering it through your preconceived notions. It's a profound act of humility.
That's such a profound shift in mindset, isn't it? It's not just about what they say, but how they see it, the lens through which they experience the world, and that must lead to some startling discoveries.
Absolutely. And tightly tied to that is what Portigal so wonderfully calls the joy of being wrong. The framework actively encourages recognizing and shedding personal cognitive biases. The most impactful aha moments aren't just about learning something new. They are often the truly joyous realization that a deeply held assumption, perhaps one you didn't even realize you had, was completely incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
This willingness to be disproven is absolutely essential for true discovery and for finding what lies beneath surface-level observations. It's about being open to being transformed by the encounter, making those moments of being wrong incredibly productive.
So it's about humility and intellectual bravery in the face of discovery. What about the actual craft of interviewing itself? What does this framework contribute to mastering that intricate skill?
It contributes significantly to mastering the interview as a sophisticated craft.
Mm.
A cornerstone principle, incredibly difficult to master, is implementing the shut-up philosophy, the power of intentional silence.
Right, the silence again.
By consciously limiting your verbal input and embracing strategic silence after a question, you create an essential, sometimes uncomfortable space for participants to elaborate, reflect, and reveal deeper, more nuanced insights. It helps you effectively avoid the back-channel trap of constant validation that can inadvertently steer responses or cut off a train of thought.
That active strategic silence seems so difficult, yet so utterly crucial for digging deeper.
It truly is a learned skill.
Yeah.
Also, the framework provides that rich palette of question types that go far beyond simple inquiries. It teaches purposeful, non-leading questioning, how to meticulously probe for specific details, to uncover unsaid information like code words or emotional cues,
Hmm.
and to skillfully create contrasts, comparing success versus failure, past versus future experiences. This precision in questioning ensures you are eliciting their authentic worldview, even if it's uncomfortable, surprising, or challenging to your own beliefs.
And it's not just about the questions themselves, but how you manage the entire flow of the conversation.
Exactly. Portigal stresses that an interview guide is precisely that, a guide, not a rigid script. He conceptualizes it as a dynamic tree of emerging questions rather than a linear path.
That tree metaphor.
Yeah, this mindset prepares researchers to be adaptable, to manage the natural ebb and flow of conversation, redirecting gently when necessary, and strategically parking interesting but off-topic ideas for later, all while maintaining focus on the core research objectives and respecting the participant's narrative. It's about controlled spontaneity.
So it's about a flexible, responsive approach, treating each conversation as a unique journey. And how does this framework extend beyond the conversation itself into a more holistic engagement with the user's world?
The framework deeply integrates contextual immersion for richer data. This means going beyond just sitting across from someone and asking questions. It includes assigning pre-work to prime participants for introspection, observing activities as they naturally occur in their environment,
Right, the homework and watching.
and bringing tangible tools like hand-drawn maps, structured exercises, and even provocative concept stimuli to elicit more situated and authentic responses.
Oh.
These methods elicit richer, more nuanced data that a purely verbal interview might miss entirely, revealing insights that wouldn't surface otherwise.
You're collecting data from their environment, their actions, and their reactions, not just their verbal descriptions.
Precisely. There's also a strong explicit emphasis on active observation and understanding nonverbal cues.
Mm.
The book encourages sharpening your observation skills, using frameworks like poems or AEIUU,
Mm.
and being acutely aware of nonverbal communication, both from the participant, their fidgets, their smiles, their pauses, and from your own body language. This holistic awareness enhances rapport and deepens understanding, even suggesting that adopting a deliberate listening posture can subtly influence your own engagement and the participant's comfort.
And all of this nuanced human interaction is supported by robust logistics and ethical fieldwork. It sounds like a truly comprehensive system.
That's right. The detailed sections on research ops, participant recruitment, legal considerations like releases and NDAs, and meticulous team preparation underscore the fundamental need for a professional and ethically sound approach to fieldwork.
Gotta have that foundation.
Exactly. This includes having clear strategies for managing interviewer discomfort versus genuine safety concerns, ensuring a smooth, productive, and respectful experience for all parties involved. It's the essential professional backbone that allows the delicate, nuanced human interaction to truly flourish and produce reliable insights.
It sounds like a truly comprehensive system, from the smallest detail to the biggest strategic picture. How does all this data ultimately translate into genuine impact and action within an organization?
The framework powerfully champions collaborative sense-making. It's an iterative and team-based approach to moving from raw data to actionable insights. This involves structured team analysis like tagging transcripts and bottom-up coding, and synthesis like affinity mapping and collaboratively clustering insights in synchronous workshops. This process fosters a new, shared point of view that extends far beyond mere individual findings, creating a collective understanding that is much more powerful and sticky.
And how those insights are communicated within the organization is just as important as the insights themselves.
Indeed. Portigal places significant emphasis on strategic communication for influence. Delivering research results isn't just about reporting findings, it's about actively making an impact.
Right, making it count.
The framework advises tailoring deliverables to specific audiences, explicitly stating the implications of findings, the so what, and using those how might we questions to bridge insights directly to actionable opportunities for brainstorming. It also highlights the importance of fostering continuous collaboration and proactively influencing organizational strategy, rather than relying on dramatic reveals to ensure research drives real, sustained change.
What an incredible, illuminating journey we've taken through Steve Portigal's Interviewing Users. From understanding the true why behind this specialized skill through the meticulous planning, engaging fieldwork, and rigorous sense-making, it's abundantly clear that user interviewing is a powerful, transformative tool for unlocking compelling insights and driving meaningful impact.
It truly is. And the core lesson from this deep dive isn't just about conducting formal research projects within a corporate setting.
Hmm.
It's really about fundamentally changing how we approach understanding other people in our daily lives, regardless of our profession.
That's a truly profound thought. Consider for a moment how often you talk to people versus how often you truly listen and probe with genuine curiosity, consciously setting aside your own worldview.
Yeah, what deeper insights might you uncover in your daily life, in your team meetings, or even in casual conversations if you consciously applied these principles of empathy, intentional silence, and purposeful, non-leading questioning? The journey to truly compelling insights starts with deliberate practice and a fundamental shift in mindset. We encourage you to reflect on how these principles can transform your own interactions, fostering deeper understanding and more impactful outcomes in every aspect of your life.